Hello, hello. It's been a little bit, not too much, but I do need to show what I've gotten done in January. I did have these guys up at the end of last year, but since then I've gotten the decals onto them, and I've done a little bit of panel lining with them. I'm tempted to darken them up a little bit with a bit of a wash because they're still quite bright, and I don't mind it. But it wasn't exactly the color scheme I was going for. But honestly, I think I'll just leave them the way they are and let them, if they ever get played with, it'll probably just be me and the sun playing. Everything is magnetized, as you can see. I needed to put a better magnet in here. I put a small rare earth in there, and there's another one into here. And so it holds, but it doesn't take much to knock them out. But overall, these were fun, and they turned out pretty well for the Tesla Sea Titans. Ha 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 ha. Nothing but bad jokes. That's the only ones I know. The decals went on pretty well. You can still see they've got their shine to them where I had the gloss varnish on for the panel lining. They need to get hit with a matte varnish and be done. But, the weaponry turned out pretty good. I've got all the guns magnetized for the warhounds here. For these I used really big magnets. You can see the size of them there, which was silly not to use them in the big warhound and the Reaver Titans, because more plastic is going to be heavier. But oh well, they look good. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but the main reason this guy is in such a dynamic pose is that I had built this one with both of the feet that are on the ground. And what you're supposed to do is use one foot that is kind of up in the air and one foot that is on the ground. And then you get like the illusion of the walking warhound. But if you have both feet up off the ground, then it either looks like it's trying to be a ballerina, or you can do like this, and you can pose it in a running mode, which turns out not too bad. But that was the Titans there, and the little knights turned out pretty well too. I mean, it's amazing what a little panel lining will do, and that's just the Tamiya panel liner for Gundams. And again, these are still pretty glossy. They'll need the matte varnish as well. But those were more or less finished at the end of December, and just a little bit of work, mostly the decal work and the panel lining with the Tamiya panel liner for that. I got some other ones built. I did 2 objective markers. Tomorrow I start with a Crusade campaign at the friendly local game store, and I've had these primed and ready to go. This one was all but complete. I just needed to put the writing on the purity seal and a little touch up on the book, and then I did a wash on the metal panel there. But he turned out pretty well. And then this one was still mostly primer, and so I painted it up. Wanted to give kind of a very clear base. It's not quite exactly 40 millimeter on the bottom, but honestly it's close enough. It can sit on top of a numbered objective marker. But these are 2 things from, I want to say, Inquisitor Kotiaz's Inquisitorial Retinue, the old metal set that I've got, which I haven't painted all of, and much to my shame, I have lost the Inquisitor's metal bird that sits upon his arm, which I'm sure that I will find that once I have built something else. But I do have him in fine cast as well, all painted up already. But there's those 2 objective markers. Finished this guy more or less today. I hit him with the matte varnish, because again, since tomorrow I am painting, I'm starting a Crusade. I'm actually running my AdMech, and so why wouldn't I paint an Imperial Fist? But Torgaradon, again, he's another one that's set on my desk. I think I've featured him several times in things that need to get done. But here he is. He turned out pretty well. His lenses really need work, like the lens there and then the lenses up there. His little Palm Pilot turned out, it turned out okay, but I mean, I'm not sure when I'll get to play with the Imperial Fists. I've got maybe 15, maybe 20 of these guys painted up. Torgarodon. I got the 10 Assault Intercessors from Indomitus, and then like 3, maybe 6 others from Start Collecting or, Push Fit. I've got Phobos Marines and that sort of thing. I want to finish up the Indomitus set for paint them all Imperial Fists. The End of the Death books have really gotten me to where I really like the fists now, because of course everybody does, and I'm just jumping on the bandwagon. Yellow is still a bit of a bear to paint. Go with gray or white as a primer, because if you do black you get kind of the yellow. I mean, you can see the difference in the yellow here to the yellow here if the camera picks it up. And this is a much darker yellow, much dirtier, because it came with the black primer. And the head and the shield I primed a light gray. I think it was Tamiya's gray primer. And that, just went over that with the brighter yellow, not Averland Sunset, but the one up from that, Flash Gets Yellow or something, and then did the Imperial Fist contrast over that, and then just painted the black and the green onto it. But I mean, he turned out pretty well. His face turned out, I'm actually kind of happy with his face. I even tried to give him a little bit of stubble, because if you're Doran's child, you'll grow a beard and a mustache. But this model was fun. You do have to assemble the whole daggum thing pretty much to make sure everything sticks together, and then paint around things. Like if you look, you can look all the way back behind his power fist and you can see the gray of the cape. But I mean, unless you pick it up, turn it up on its side and look for it, you're never going to see that. So if you're going for Golden Demon, you'll have to do some shenanigans. If you're going to play at your friendly local game store, don't worry about it. I also made a small dent in my Kingdom Death minis. I painted this old resin loon, and she turned out really great until I tried to glue this cape on. And there are 2 small contact points at her wrists, and I'm trying to be very careful with it right now, because the cape just kept falling off. The super glue that I was trying to use, I don't know if it was faulty or if it just had some problems, or if probably just the low contact points, and it glued and then it popped off and it pulled paint off, and so I got terribly upset. And this is resin, and it's very fragile resin. Her foot, which is the only contact point on the base, if you look, you can probably see where it's cracked a couple times, because it just popped off, and she was off the base and done. And glued it back on. When I finished everything except the cape, I hit her with a matte varnish, and the Tester's dull coat evidently was strong enough to debond the super glue that I had used on her arms and head, and where I had repaired the foot, and she fell to pieces as I tried to put the cape on the first time, glued that all back together, and then there was more. Anyway, there's lots of drama, and I'm just putting her in the cabinet so she can be done, because if I try to fiddle and fix everything that I broke, I will break more things, and she looks pretty enough as it is. She'll look really nice for anybody who wanders into my house and happens to go look into the cabinet that I have in my house and go, oh wow, that's really nice, and keep going. So, I'm not worried about it. Angry about it? Yes. Worried about it? No. And then this one, this is the big game hunter, the monster game hunter. The underneath it says copyright 2009 Kingdom Death. Well, actually I drilled through like the 2000. But I feel like this was maybe a Kickstarter or something, or a pledge something. I don't know. I bought it off eBay years ago, and it's just been sitting in its little brown box, which I still have in the brown box. The Great Game Hunter. There we go. And I have her card in my little folder that I have all these things in. But I mean, she was a fun model, and she painted up pretty easy. And again, with these little resin, and this was again very thin resin, like the tag end of her scabbard snapped off, like the little baldric that drapes down over the scabbard. It popped off and disappeared, and it was just a little resin thing. I would never be able to glue it back on, even if I had found it. So, and plus, it's under the cape; you'll never see it. But honestly, she turned out really well. I'm happy with her. The greens turned out pretty good. You know, a decent level of contrast. A little chalky here and there. Her face was pretty good. Loon's face turned out really well, even with having to carefully glue the head back on after it popped off. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to die. But yeah, there we go. There's two Kingdom Death ladies, neither of whom are terribly lewd, which is a big thing for Kingdom Death. It's almost a miracle. I am working on my AdMech for tomorrow. Here's the Techno Archaeologist. He is still a work in progress, but he is just about good enough to take to the tournament. I've got to pick out all the detail on his tabard, and honestly, that will polish him up, and then work on his Archaeotech pistol there, and a little wash on his the claw arm won't hurt him at all. But you know, working on him, trying to get him to match the AdMech that I had built a few years ago. Which I'm glad I pulled this guy out, because his purity seal had not been painted, and there were a couple other things that needed working on. But these I built when you used to could carry two of the same special weapon in the squads, and so I had paired them all off, like all the Vanguard had plasma guns and all the Rangers had arc rifles, because the ranges fit better with their base weapon profile. But now you can only take one with each group, and so I need to somehow make some plasma guns for the Rangers and arc rifles for the Vanguard at some point. But right now I'm just running them. I'm just pretending that they don't have the right hat on. Well, I mix them with the group. It's a friendly Crusader group that we're going to be playing in, and so I'm not worried about people getting WYSIWYG on everything. But this guy should paint up pretty nicely. I am working on another Kingdom Death, the waiting at the station, or waiting for Godot, something like that. In the cover art, she's just got bare legs, and I'm probably going to give her leggings just because, I mean, she's got that poofy jacket. So it's obviously cold. She's drinking a hot drink, and it's steaming a lot, so the air is obviously cold. So who will go out in Daisy Dukes and boots in the winter? Because especially like she's wearing low socks in this with just leather boots, your calves would get all sweaty and sticky and kind of gross. So I'm going to imagine that she's wearing leggings and nice woolen socks so that she'll be nice and warm. Notice that she is definitely doing a no-face cosplay right there. That's because I have her face glued onto a piece of paper so that I can paint that and then stick it into the model and not worry about it. Here is her base that it came with, which is pretty cool. I'm going to dry brush that and then probably either use inks or contrast, or really thin down bright colors to make it, probably contrast to make a vibrant carpet, just because I would rather it be vibrant than the 1970s brown shag in the smoker's house that most carpets I'm familiar with. But anyway, that's my plans at the moment. Don't have anything other major going on for painting style. I've got a couple things that I would like to get onto the list. Like I still have this KDM to do. This one is the Death Crown Inheritor Ari. I can't remember. But the one where she's sitting in the hand, this is the other set for that. So I'll paint that one up as well. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. It's good to be back in the saddle, back painting a little bit. Got a lot of stuff to do. We're going to California in the summer. I'm going to Chicago next month to go to Adepticon, so that'll be fun. And if you've made it through 15 minutes, I hope you're having a great February and that you've got good plans for Valentine's. Either being at home and watching cheesy romance movies by yourself or with a significant other, or going out to eat fancy dinners, whatever it is you like to do. All right, y'all have a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night. Adios.